I'm sitting here on the floor, as is the custom on Tisha B'Av, that until midday we sit on the ground. I'm thinking about the over 100 hostages who are in captivity since October 7th. Here we are, Tisha B'Av, it's an uncomfortable day, we're sad, we're not eating, we're not drinking, we're not bathing, we're not cleansing ourselves properly. And I think about the hostages who, this is their 312th consecutive Tisha B'Av, sitting in dark tunnels in Gaza without proper food or water or other life necessities. And here we are on the saddest day. We just concluded the services at the synagogue downstairs, where we recalled thousands of years of Jewish suffering and persecution. But at the same time, our rabbis tell us that this day is called a holiday, because despite all the suffering and all the pain we have endured as a Jewish nation, and we celebrate on this day the miracle of Jewish survival against all odds. The same is true in our current tragedy. As we go through one of the darkest chapters in Jewish history, one of the saddest Tisha B'Avs that I can recall in my lifetime, we know that in generations to come, Jews will look back at this year and will recall the heroism, the bravery, the courage, the self-sacrifice, the strength, the faith, the unity that the Jewish people displayed during this year. And once again, the story will be written of one of triumph over darkness and over evil. The chapters about our enemies, Iran and Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthis, will be very insignificant chapters in the history of this year. But the tremendous resilience and strength and faith of the Jewish people will be told for generations to come. And that is what we do as Jews. We carry on with our Jewish lives, with faith in God, with optimism, with hope for a better tomorrow, for a brighter future. And by doing that, we take with us thousands of years of Jewish generations who lived and died as proud Jews, and we carry them with us into our journey, into our story. When I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, I went to yeshiva on Ocean Parkway, Lubavitcher Yeshiva. And when I was in 12th grade, I had a rabbi, a Rebbe, his name was Rabbi Chaim Meir Bucket. He was a Holocaust survivor, an older man with a beautiful white beard, very beloved teacher. He was also rabbi in East Flatbush in Brooklyn. Today he has children all over the world, including a son who's a rabbi here, Chabad rabbi in Boca Raton, Rabbi Zalman Bucket. And the story that was told about Rabbi Chaim Meir Bucket was that one of his children, his daughter, married a rabbi in California by the name of Rabbi Stillman, Yerachmiel Stillman. And in 1970, one summer, his daughter said, "Why don't you come to California and spend a few weeks with us?" So he went with his wife to spend a few weeks during the summer of 1970 with his daughter and son-in-law in Westward, California. On one Friday night, they said, "Tati, we're having a Shabbaton in the Chabad house. We're having college students. We're going to go eat in the Chabad house." When they came to the Chabad house, they wanted to put him at the head table. He said, "No, I want to sit with the students. I want to talk to them." He was a very outgoing, warm, friendly rabbi. He was sitting next to a college student by the name of Tuvia. And this college student said, "Rabbi, where are you from?" He said, "I'm from a little town in Poland. You've probably never heard of it." He said, "Tell me." He says, "I'm from Chemelnik." He says, "Chemelnik? My grandparents are from Chemelnik." And not only that, here in Westwood, California, there's a group called the Chemelnik Society, a group of survivors of the Holocaust from Chemelnik, and they meet all the time. Booker was so happy to hear this. He says, "I never knew what happened to my parents. I was sent off as a child. They were sent off to the concentration camps, and they died. But I never heard what happened to them. Maybe someone in the group knows my parents, heard about my parents. So Tuvi said, I'll call my parents after Shabbat, my grandparents after Shabbat, and I'll see what I could find out. The next day, at Rabbi Stillman's home, phone rings and they ask for Rabbi Bucket. And it's an elderly woman by the name of Chana, and she says, Rabbi, I heard you're in town, your name is Chaim Meir Bucket, I must meet with you. And so a meeting was arranged, and Chana comes over to the house, to the Bucket home, where the entire family is there. And with tears, she says to Chaim Meir Bucket, Rabbi Chaim Meir Bucket, I knew your parents very well. I was very close friends with your mother, Rachel Bucket. And when the Nazis came, they rounded up all the Jews and put us in the boxcars and the cattle cars and took us to Treblinka. And they separated the children. And I was in the boxcar on the way to Treblinka, and as we were going, I noticed that there was a little slot on the top of the window, just enough to be able to crawl through. And so I said to your mother, Rachel, I said, listen, next time the train slows down, let's climb through the window and jump out and run. And your mother said to me, Chana, I'm not strong enough. I'm too weak. I won't be able to do it. I'm only going to slow you down and we're both going to get killed. You go, I'll stay. And so when the train slowed down at the next stop, I climbed up to the window and I pleaded with your mother. I said, please come with me. And she said, no, I can't. I don't have the strength. But she looked me in the eyes and she said, but do me one favor. If I don't live and you survive, if you ever meet my son, my only child, Chaim Meir, tell him, ich hab übergelast a Zecher in the Welt. I left an imprint, a remembrance in this world. Chana says to Rabbi Bucket, I climbed through the window, said goodbye to your mother, and I jumped and I ran. And as the train went off, I never saw your mother again. I'm an elderly woman, and I always thought about the words of your mother. If you ever meet my son Chaim Meir, tell him I left over an imprint, a remembrance in this world. But I never dreamt I would ever get to find you. You have to understand, this was 1970, before Google, before the internet. And she says, my grandson comes home and tells me that you're in town and your name is Rabbi Chaim Meir Bucket, the son of my beloved friend Rachel. Finally, I can share your mother's loving words. Ich hab übergelast a Zecher. I left over a remembrance, an imprint in this world. That's the message of Tisha B'Av. The millions and millions of Jews who died just for being Jewish because of anti-Semitism. The same anti-Semitism we're seeing today, starting with Tisha B'Av and the destruction of the temple in the year 70 CE, when 1 million Jews were murdered, and the millions and millions of others, including the Holocaust, and including those who were murdered on October 7th. They say to us today, we left over an imprint. We left the everlasting, eternal remembrance, and that's you, the Jewish nation. You live on, and you live on for us and with us, and you carry us in your lives as you go forward as proud Jews, continuing your faith and your tradition, and fighting the same evil and the same anti-Semitism that Jews have fought for thousands of years. Yes, it's the saddest day, but at the same time it's the day that we gain strength from the miracle of the eternal nature of the Jewish nation, that no army and no enemy could ever defeat, because Almighty God leads us and will carry us through this darkness and bring us to the final and complete redemption.